All right, buckle up, everyone. We're diving into the future of transportation.
Yeah, the future of how we get around.
Exactly. And we've got some seriously cool source material to work with like, get this, whole bunch of reports and predictions about what transportation could look like in 2050.
2050, yeah.
I know, right? Like flying cars kind of stuff?
Well, actually, yeah, there is some flying car talk.
No way.
But it's way more than just that. The reports we're looking at, they really dig into how everything connects, not just individual vehicles, but how cities are designed, sustainability.
The whole shebang.
Exactly. It's like total transportation ecosystem.
A transportation ecosystem. I like that.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start with something I think everyone can relate to. Public transportation.
Okay. Yeah.
The reports are saying no more drivers. Like, picture this. You're hopping on a bus, but there's no driver. It's totally AI run.
Yeah.
And it's not just buses. It's trains, trams, everything, all running on clean energy, super smooth and efficient.
And that's just the beginning. Like, imagine if public transport was actually, well, good.
Good.
Yeah, like if it was affordable and always on time and got you exactly where you needed to go, wouldn't that change how you live?
Oh, totally. No more stressing about traffic or parking.
Right. And think about the environmental impact. Way less pollution, less congestion. Cities could actually be enjoyable.
You're painting a pretty rosy picture here.
I mean, that's what the sources are suggesting. And it goes even further. They say that this kind of public transport could make owning a car completely optional.
Wait, so you're saying I wouldn't need a car?
It's a possibility, especially when you factor in these things called EVTELs.
EVTELs? What in the world is an EVTEL?
Okay, so picture this. Flying taxis.
Oh, whoa, hold on.
I know, it sounds crazy, right?
Flying taxi, like in 2050, that's actually going to be a thing.
Well, the reports say it's closer than you think. They talk about companies that are already building and testing these things.
Wow.
These EVTELs, they take off and land vertically, so no need for runways.
So you could just like call one up on your phone and it would swoop down and pick you up.
Yeah, basically. And imagine no more traffic jams, you just zoom over everything.
But wouldn't the sky be total chaos with everyone flying around?
Well, that's where things get interesting. The sources talk about setting up special air traffic control systems just for EVTLs.
Like air traffic control, but for flying cars.
Exactly. They say it'd be like lanes in the sky, maybe even autonomous systems to prevent collisions.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But what about cost? Like, wouldn't only rich people be able to afford flying taxis?
That's a great question, and the sources actually address that. They emphasize that for this to work, flying taxis can't be a luxury. They have to be accessible to everyone.
So like affordable flying taxis.
That's the goal. They talk about developing new technology and business models to make that happen.
It still sounds pretty sci-fi to me, but I guess we'll see.
I know, right? But that's the fun of these deep dives, exploring all these crazy possibilities.
Okay, so we've got super efficient public transport, we've got flying taxis,
Hmm.
but what about people who live outside the cities, like in the suburbs? Would all this stuff even work for them?
That's another thing the reports get into.
Okay, good.
They predict that drones are going to be huge GE, not just for like fun stuff, but for deliveries.
Drone deliveries, yeah, I've heard about that.
Right, but they're saying it'll be like way more common. Like your groceries, your prescriptions, even takeout, all delivered by drone.
So basically, I could just sit on my couch and have everything brought to me.
Pretty much.
That sounds kind of lazy, but also awesome.
I know, right? But the point is, it saves so much time and hassle, especially for people who don't live in super dense areas.
So less time stuck in traffic, less time running errands.
Good.
That means more time for, well, anything.
Exactly. And that's one of the big themes in these reports, how this transportation revolution could free up our time, Less time commuting, less time on errands, more time for work, family, hobbies, whatever you're into.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this all ties together. It's not just about the cool vehicles, it's about how they change our lives.
Yeah, exactly. And one more thing I wanted to mention, because it just blew my mind when I read about it. Hyperloop systems.
Hyperloop. Oh, yeah, I've heard of that, like super fast trains, right?
Yeah, but way faster. Like, imagine traveling from New York to Chicago in under an hour.
What? No way, that's impossible.
Well, that's what the reports say. They talk about these pods that travel through low-pressure tubes at crazy high speeds.
Like bullet trains on steroids?
Basically. And they say this could revolutionize long-distance travel, business trips, tourism, even how families stay connected.
Wow. I'm trying to wrap my head around all this. It's like the Jetsons come to life.
I know, right? It's crazy exciting. And it's not just for people who are constantly on the move. The reports say that even the in-car experience is going to change drastically.
Okay, so like what, my car turns into a spaceship?
Not quite a spaceship, but with self-driving technology becoming more widespread, your car could become a mobile office, a place to relax, even take a nap.
Whoa, wait, so I could sleep while my car drives me to work.
Yeah. They're saying it'll be like a whole new level of comfort and convenience.
That sounds amazing, but also a little scary, you know? Like trusting a computer to drive me around.
I know what you mean. And the sources definitely acknowledge that there are challenges, like safety concerns, ethical considerations, how to integrate self-driving cars with existing infrastructure.
Yeah, there's a lot to figure out.
Definitely. But that's what makes this so fascinating. It's a huge opportunity to rethink how we move around the world and potentially make our lives a whole lot better.
So we've covered a lot of ground, but I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
It's clear that we're on the verge of some massive changes in transportation, but what does it all actually mean for us, for our daily lives?
That's the big question, isn't it? And that's what we'll be exploring in the rest of this deep dive.
All right, let's buckle up and dive even deeper into this transportation revolution. So we've talked about flying taxis and self-driving cars, but like, where does my phone fit into all this?
Oh, that's where it gets really cool. Your smartphone basically becomes like your transportation hub.
Okay, so like instead of having a million different apps for buses and trains and ride sharing and all that,
Exactly. You'd have one app that does it all.
one app to rule them all.
Yeah. And it wouldn't just book things for you. It would like suggest the best routes.
Oh, so it'd be like personalized travel planning.
Exactly. And think about this. You could walk off a train and have an e-bike waiting for you, all planned and paid for through your phone.
Wow, that's pretty slick.
I know, right? It's all about seamless connections between different modes of transportation.
That makes a lot of sense. But you know, all this new tech, all these new vehicles, it makes me wonder about the environment.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sustainability is a big part of this vision of the future.
Okay, good, because I was thinking, like, building all this stuff can't be good for the planet.
Right, but the reports we're looking at, they emphasize that sustainability is not an option, it's a necessity.
Gotcha.
They talk about electric vehicles becoming the norm, powered by renewable energy.
So it's not just about shiny new toys, it's about making sure those toys are eco-friendly.
Exactly. And they go even further. They talk about cities designed with green infrastructure, solar-powered charging stations.
Cities designed around sustainability.
Yeah, like making it easy to live a car-free lifestyle, if you want to.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
It's not just about individual vehicles, it's about creating a whole new way of living.
So this is like a global thing, right? Not just happening in a few cities.
Right. The reports actually highlight how this transportation revolution is already happening all over the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they mentioned the high-speed rail networks in China and India, connecting vast distances and transforming economies.
I can see how that would be a game changer.
And they talk about this thing called the leapfrogging effect.
Leapfrogging, what's that?
So like in some parts of the world, they're skipping over older technologies and going straight to the cutting edge,
Interesting.
like adopting electric vehicles and smart infrastructure much faster than we did in the West.
That makes sense. If you're starting from scratch, why not go straight to the best option?
Exactly. But of course, with any big change, there are going to be disruptions.
Yeah, like what about all the people who work in traditional car manufacturing?
That's something the reports address. They say that while some jobs will inevitably be lost, new opportunities will emerge in fields like software development, AI engineering, renewable energy.
So like a shift in the job market.
Exactly. And they emphasize the importance of retraining programs, education initiatives to help people adapt to these changes.
That sounds crucial. Otherwise, you'd have a lot of people left behind.
Right. It's about making sure everyone benefits from this transition.
Okay, so we've talked about the tech, the environmental impact, the economic shifts, but there's one thing I keep coming back to. Free time.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
If people aren't spending hours commuting or running errands, what will they do with all that extra time?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, the reports don't have a definitive answer. They suggest it could go either way. We could become super productive, using that extra time for work or personal project,
Okay, yeah.
or we could embrace leisure, spend more time with loved ones, pursue hobbies, just chill out.
So like it's up to us to decide how we want to use that time?
Exactly. It's a huge opportunity to rethink our priorities, our values, how we want to live our lives.
That's a pretty profound thought.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of what these reports are about. It's not just
Mhm.
about predicting the future. It's about prompting us to think about what kind of future we want.
Okay, so big picture stuff.
Exactly. And it's not just about the tech itself, but how we use it, how we regulate it, how we make sure it serves humanity.
Right, because technology can be a powerful tool, but it can also be misused.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to think critically about the choices we're making today.
Well, you've definitely given me a lot to think about.
Good. That's the goal.
So where do we go from here? We've covered a lot of ground, but I'm sure our listener still has tons of questions.
Oh, for sure. Like, what will it actually feel like to live in this 2050? What will the day-to-day experience be like?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about too. Like, paint me a picture. What would my life look like in this future world? So we've talked about like all this crazy futuristic tech and how it could change our cities and even like the whole job market. But I think what everyone really wants to know is like, what's it going to feel like to live in this 2050? What's a typical day going to be like?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Like, will we all turn into these, like, super efficient robots, or will we just be, lounging around all day because everything is so easy?
Exactly. Like, will we even have jobs or will we all be like professional Netflix bingers?
Well, the reports, they don't have a crystal ball or anything. They can't tell us exactly what's going to happen. But what they do suggest is that, like, this transportation revolution could actually lead to a whole bunch of different outcomes.
Yeah.
It all depends on, like, individual choices, government policies, even cultural values,
So basically, the future is not set in stone.
Exactly. It's up to us to shape it.
Okay, so let's say I'm living in this 2050 world. Walk me through a typical day. What's different?
Okay, so imagine this. You wake up, and instead of, like, immediately hitting traffic on your way to work, you're chilling in your self-driving car, catching up on emails, or maybe even taking a nap.
A nap in the car. Now that's my kind of commute.
Right. Or maybe you're working from home because, like, high-speed rail makes it super easy to live further out.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about people who can't work from home? Like, what about teachers, nurses, people who have to be physically present for their jobs?
Well, the sources actually suggest that even those jobs would be impacted,
Yeah.
Like maybe school buses become autonomous, so teachers can focus more on, like, actually teaching.
Interesting.
And think about nurses. They could use telehealth technology to, like, monitor patients remotely, maybe even do virtual checkups.
So even though some jobs might disappear, new ones will pop up to like support this new way of life.
Exactly. It's all about adaptation.
Okay, so what about all this extra free time we'll have? Will we all be jetting off to exotic locations every weekend thanks to Hyperloop?
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
The sources talk about, like, increased travel and tourism for sure. But they also highlight the potential for, like, stronger local communities.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like, if commutes are shorter and less stressful, people might actually want to spend more time in their own neighborhoods, supporting local businesses, getting involved in community events.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like bringing back that sense of community that maybe we've lost a bit. But, with all this talk about shorter commutes and less traffic, I can't help but wonder what's going to happen to cities? Like, will the suburbs make a comeback?
Some experts think so, yeah. The sources talk about how this new technology could actually reshape the way we design cities, like with more emphasis on walkability, green spaces, making them more livable.
So it's not just about the vehicles themselves, it's about like the whole urban environment.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Okay, so far this future sounds pretty awesome, but I'm sure there are like some downsides too, right? Like what could possibly go wrong?
Oh, for sure. There are definitely challenges. Like, cybersecurity is a big one. When everything is so interconnected, a single hack could have a huge impact.
Yeah, that's a bit scary.
And then there's the whole issue of privacy, right? With all these sensors and data collection, there's a risk of, like, Big Brother watching our every move.
That's a valid concern for sure.
The sources, like, really stress the importance of strong data privacy regulations, making sure that people understand how their information is being used.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about how we manage it and use it responsibly.
Exactly. We have to be mindful of the potential risks.
Wow, this has been a real eye-opener. I feel like I have a much better understanding of like the possibilities, but also the challenges of this transportation revolution.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
But it's exciting. I mean, the future is literally in our hands.
It is. And these reports, They're really a call to action, urging us to think critically about the choices we're making today and how they'll shape the world of tomorrow.
So, like, what's one thing our listener can do right now to be part of this future?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed. Read up on these technologies, follow the debates and discussions, and don't be afraid to voice your own opinions and concerns.
That's great advice. So, to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this wild ride into the future of transportation. Keep those brains buzzing, and we'll catch you next time.